Hello my dear and welcome to our 5 minutes with Ekaterina war vlog about Dnipro, the central Ukraine. And today I would like to give you a brief update about what's going on, maybe not only in Dnipro itself but in Ukraine in general, because maybe you watched my previous video on YouTube from the downtown and you saw that I'm pretty happy and excited to show you around life there is very vivid, all the restaurants are opened, it's summer, it was late summer, now it's September, but at that moment it was still a holiday season and all the restaurants were opened, people were very chill and the city itself is very busy. And if you stay downtown, if you stay in Dnipro, you cannot really feel what's happening because you just think that you are in a normal living city, all the shops are functioning, you can buy whatever you would like to buy. If you are local like myself, you would notice that a lot of places that you used to go to are now closed. But there are also a lot of other places that were open, so that's why if you are not local, you wouldn't spot the difference and you wouldn't miss certain restaurants or certain clubs that you were attending for years, for example. And the situation outside the city center and maybe a little bit farther away is totally different, if you go a little bit outside of the city, you will start noticing, for example, the checkpoints, you will see a lot of military vehicles, and it doesn't matter which direction you would go to, it will be all the same, there will be a road. We don't really have highways in the normal way of a highway, but we have a lot of motorways, and if you see the motorway or if you just go on the motorway, you will definitely see the checkpoint and you will definitely see at least a few military cars. And also if you go to the hospital, for example, you will see a lot of wounded men, and a lot of them would wear uniforms, so you would know that they were wounded at the front line. And that's the city as it is, as you again, it's just it's changed, but it is pretty much vibrant, and I wouldn't say that you at that moment in middle of August that you will feel that something wrong is going on. And all this time, all August, Russians were accumulating rockets, and August was a pretty cool month because the most of the months we had the electricities, it was siren here and there, but there were no big attacks for the city. But the situation changed after the August 24th, because August 24th is the Independence Day of Ukraine, and usually it is the biggest bombing of the year. Russians are very attached to some dates. And on August 24th itself, it was fine, but immediately after it, the following 2 days, we had a lot of explosions, we had bombings, the biggest rocket attack ever happened, and especially Kiev was attacked like by the great number of rockets. And since this August 26th, since that moment, we have constant rocket attacks. So they were accumulated the whole month, so a few months, they were accumulating, building new rockets. And when I say building, they're actually using the Western components, because in all these parts of the rockets that we can find on the ground, we would see the American details, we would see the European details, we would see any kind of details that you would imagine should be under the sanctions. They are in Russian rockets. So basically Russia is trading with all these countries with the help of intermediate countries, with the help of Kazakhstan, for example, with the help of China, something goes through Iran, something goes from North Korea. And all these countries, they're helping Russia to smuggle, to buy these parts, and we see all these Western weapons basically thrown at us, or Western built with the Western components weapons, which is pretty much depressing. Rocket bombing is depressing by itself, but it's pretty much stressful because you know that actually sanctions are not working as they should. And that was the moment when at my apartment I changed my workplace, because I used to work near the window, and there was this rocket attack, so I changed it, and now I'm working as a corridor. I'm sitting as a corridor usually, because the sirens are pretty much constant, and if the whole month I was living here and thinking, oh, it's calming down, it's not now, and I have to work not in the basement but in the corridor, because we don't have basement in this apartment building. And what is happening here now, what is happening is that there will be a bombing, and that will be there will be arrival, and it will be like a bombing every 2-3 days, and especially big one after this Independence Day one was September the 1st, and on the 1st of September it is the Knowledge Day, when our children go to school. So it was Sundays this year, and they started bombings on Sundays, then they would bomb us on Monday, the following day. And as a result of the bombings, a lot of electricity stations and substations were damaged. So we have long blackouts, and the electricity can be gone, for example, for 8 hours a day. So it will be gone for 4 hours, then we will have it 2 hours, and then we will not have it another 4 hours, for example. Or it can be 3 blackouts during the day. And we have a schedule when you would expect it, but it's not always followed. It's not always on the schedule, on the list, because they sometimes don't know what emergency would happen where, because the load is now on these few substations that are remained not damaged by Russians. And this situation of not having the electricity, the situation of having so many wounded people, of having rocket attacks, and now I do think that, okay, if it's a siren, it might be an explosion, and also the arrival can be anywhere, because they figured out that Russians started to shoot just random rockets, Earth rockets that are not precise at all. And a few days ago they were targeting one place in Dnipro, and they hit the ground, but they hit the ground near the residential building. So that's how people die, because they think that they will target one place, and then like you see it 900 meters out or like a kilometer out, and it's pretty kind of normal range. And of course you might have heard about these latest explosions in other cities in Ukraine. The greatest tragedy was in Poltava, where at least 51 persons died, and they're still trying to kind of disassemble the building to see if there are any more people under the debris. And it was the educational institution. It's the same day, because there are a lot of speculations about it now. It was a military school, a military university, but there was some kind of conference or something going on, so there were people from the army inside of it. But people say, oh, there was a military, it's a military target, but we kind of ignore that at the same day in Sumy also the university was targeted. So the specifically educational institutions are targeted, and I don't know if they were like thinking, okay, now we are targeting only this military one, because in Sumy they were targeting pretty much civilian university, and in the very beginning of the school year. And it's the same for schools, for the university. So all educational institutions, they will start studies in this early September. So if it's not the first, because it's Sunday, it would be the second Monday. And immediately the first week of the studies, they targeted at least 2 educational buildings, and gratefully in one building we have more than 200 people wounded and 51 persons confirmed dead. And this night in Lviv, they were targeting the train station. I think it's not a big military secret, because you can just open the map and you can see what they were probably targeting. But they hit residential buildings, several residential buildings, not even nearby, like a few blocks away from the train station. So it's not precise, because I'm pretty sure that they know the coordinates of the Lviv train station. There are so many people traveling there, so they would definitely get it by the means of intelligence. But the rocket, it was a rocket that we cannot hit. It wasn't our anti-missile system. So the rockets just hit the residential quarter next to the train station, but again 2 blocks away, not even the immediate residential buildings. They killed people there, and it was confirmed. Right now, I was reading the news that they hit the building where the family was sleeping, and mother and 3 daughters died, and father survived, and now he is in hospital with the help. So they just targeted literally they were targeting probably train station, but because it's so not precise, they just hit something else, just residential building. So it started to be more dangerous, I would say. It used to be dangerous, and they used to target specifically civilian buildings just to terror us. But now, along with keeping this idea that if they hit civilians, if they kill civilians, it's okay, they also started to target more strategical objects with not precise rockets that would just hit the few blocks away. For example, building that happened in Dnipro, that happened in Lviv, and I'm pretty sure that it happened in other places, but I don't have the maps, I don't know other cities very well, so for me it's harder to state it and to say that, okay, that's true. So absolutely ridiculous amount of bombing, long blackouts, we cannot really predict when we wouldn't have the electricity, and a very, very difficult frontline situation. Again, if you follow, probably saw the news about Pokrovsk, so Pokrovsk is the last town in Donetsk region before the Dnipro region. So basically, it is the last point that Russians are supposed to take before they start taking Dnipro region. And they started to advance there very fast, and their movement there, like last maybe 3 weeks, it was very dangerous, and it was again, it was tragic because a few villages and a few smaller towns nearby, they were taken. And when I say taken, it means that they are grounded to earth, the houses are destroyed. If civilians were left there, civilians would be killed because of these bombings, but most civilians, they were evacuated beforehand in advance, because the government said that you have to evacuate, and they forcibly evacuated families with children. Because if you remember before, maybe a year before, I was saying that there was a discussion if we should forcibly evacuate children, and now children are forcibly evacuated with parents. So now we kind of solved this moral issue, and the government decided that if it's a minor, cannot stay legally under these bombings. So the most of children were evacuated, the most of civilians were evacuated, but these small villages and small towns, the Russians were advancing very, very fast. And regretfully now they are somewhere around 10 kilometers from Pokrovsk, and they keep advancing, which means that if they will be able to finish this operation before November, when we have rains, probably the next region that they're going to start attacking, it will be Dnipro. And again, when attacking, the tactic is just to destroy a village, destroy a town, destroy a city, and then enter it, just walking in this debris in the ruins. It's very painful, and when you know that Russians are advancing, and you know that it used to be 200 kilometers to Donetsk, then it used to be 180 kilometers, and now it's something 160 kilometers from your place, and it is moving inwards, and you're starting to understand that you are the next. It is very stressful. And again, we haven't discussed with you the operation in the Kursk region, and a lot of people say, oh, you're occupying something, Ukrainians are occupying Russia, it has never happened before, since the Second World War, and we don't remember any countries that would attack the nuclear weapon owning country or something like this. So there are a lot of conversations like that, and that's why I just decided briefly to stop here. So we need to understand that Ukraine is not attacking anyone, and Ukraine is not occupying the land. What we are doing, we are trying to defend ourselves. And if you see this Kursk region gains, it is the front line, so all these border lines that where the military forces are standing, it is a front line. So it was a front line, and from these pieces of Russian land, Russians had their military vehicles, and they shelled Ukrainian territory with with bombs, basically with smaller range bombs, and the towns, villages suffering a lot. Sumy, as it's a town, it's a regional center of Sumy region. Sumy was suffering a lot because Russians were standing there, and the things that they didn't send forward the infantry doesn't mean that it was a calm and normal piece of Russian land where people just living and minding their business. No, it was a front line, and our commandment decided that we need to move it a little bit out of Sumy, so these short-range weapons wouldn't shell our cities. I wouldn't say that it helped in this short-term kind of horizon, but it did help a little bit with kind of changing the situation and changing the strategic positions. I don't understand fully what was the idea behind this decision, but it's in no way it's an occupation. We don't need more land. We want to regain our sovereignty territory, and Ukraine is a pretty peaceful country, so we are not occupying the land, and we are not attacking Russia because it's ridiculous. Russia invaded us, Russia attacked us, Russia every day now shells Ukraine with bombs, and the movement of the front line doesn't matter where it moves. It cannot be considered as an attack anymore. It's just the military operation. So it's one of the many military operations, and it is a result of Russian invasion and of Russian aggression, and the idea that border is moving and the historical Russian territories are now kind of not as protected as they used to be when we were neighbors, just neighbors, and they didn't attack us. So it was a sovereign territories, but starting this invasion, they kind of destroyed this idea of this drawn on the map borders. So that's why I find it difficult even to say anything when they say such names as attack or occupied or something like this when you talk about Ukrainian defense against Russia. So that's it. Despite these gains of few settlements or few territories there, we are having a big problem, very big problem in the Donetsk region. We have a very big problem with the bombings, which are done with these long-range missiles from the drones, which like airports that we cannot reach because our alliance don't give us the permission to hit the Russian territory, which is again ridiculous. And all this Western alliance, they also just give the components for Russia to build the Russian rockets. So it's pretty much stressful to live in this situation and to know that who are your friends actually, what's happening there. So they give you our friends why you cannot provide the weapons to defend ourselves, why we cannot hit Alenia. It is the airport from where all the planes are flying all the time and bombing us all the time. So why cannot we hit this airbase instead of just saying, oh, anti-missile system missed something, or it was the biggest attack. We can just stop this attack because they will not have this space, this airbase to fly. And also, why wouldn't you sanction your parts? Why wouldn't you just stop selling them the pieces that they need for these rockets to bomb us? So it's mentally, it's a pretty low point still. Especially now, people are very scared, people are very depressed. We are mourning because it's civilians, the number of civilians who died starting from this 26th of August until now, it is just growing, and it's very difficult to understand the reasoning behind hitting these residential buildings, behind even hitting our electric system. So what Russia wants, like why Russia would want us to freeze in winter a civilian population. So Russia is definitely trying to genocide us, trying to kill us, and it's pretty stressful to think if you think about it. And as for what to do when it happened in Poltava, when they bombed the school in Poltava, or this military school in Poltava, and there were a lot of victims, so more than 300 people were victims of this bombing. a lot of people didn't know what to do. So basically, a lot of people didn't have any basic medical training in order to know how to provide this basic help. And if you think about your place, if you think about the bigger war that might start, and that this conflict that was starting at this local level can expand. So the best thing you can do is just to think about your house to be more fit, but also to start preparing yourself in terms of medical preparation, in terms of first aid preparation, and it will never be excessive. So just knowing how to help somebody is probably the best idea that you can have, the best things that you can do for yourself. So that's it. Sorry it was longer than usual, and I just wanted to update you, to brief you in everything. Thank you very much for watching, thank you for your help, thank you for your support, and I hope to see you soon under better circumstances. Goodbye for now.